she had proposed to me that she didn't want to be in California anymore. She wanted to get away from the city. She wanted to be in a small town, and it was really random actually finding Custer. We found it in a book somewhere, and she couldn't get the weekend off, so I flew out here. I checked it out. I went to a few places around the Black Hills, but the realtor, the last place he took us was Custer. And I went in, and there's just it just felt like something my wife wanted. And I just thought, this is the place. He showed me the house, and I made an offer that day, and I told my wife I made an offer on a home, and she was thrilled. She didn't care where it was. She just knew she didn't want to be in the city anymore. There was a reality to me coming here. I was working a really good job. I felt like my career was on its way up, and I had to get my head around completely leaving all of that and choosing between whether or not I wanted my wife to be happy or whether or not I wanted to be happy. That was the dilemma I made up in my own mind, not realizing that the best decision I could have made in my life was moving here.
It'd be one of those deals where if it rained out on the farm, we could take a couple days off, and we would head on into the Black Hills, and everybody would be enjoying themselves, but my mom always said, you oddly loved it. It was kind of in your heart. And I can still remember driving through the Needles Highway, backseat of the family car, nose pressed up against the glass, and completely telling myself, don't blink. You need to remember not to blink, because you need to close your eyes when you get back on the farm, and you want to be able to visualize the granite and the rocks and the trees and the hills, and it had my heart from the word go. So definitely, that's what's there's something about the Black Hills that they often say that these hills will heal you. So there's some really magical things that also go on with that.
I didn't really think, when I moved out here, I didn't come out here to open up a restaurant. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was in a mindset where I just was living in the moment. I was just going along with a new adventure, and I was okay with that. And then I noticed myself feeling like I needed to be back in a kitchen, in a restaurant. And the problem was, I didn't know if people would want what I have to put on a plate. And I was told over and over again that the ideas that I had about serving some of these ingredients that I'm familiar with would never be a part of this town. And so I went through, a few months of sadness and anxiety about opening the restaurant, because I didn't know, I just thought, if I do my best and I put out what I think is good, then maybe by chance somebody else will think it's good too.
So how did you and Joseph, meet initially?
That would be through one of my really good friends who we call Uncle Bill. He's a foodie, lives in Custer. He's been there, business owner, many, many years. And he's a connoisseur of fine food. And I asked him one night, it was date night right after my wife and I moved back here and we'd started this. And I told Bill, I said, I need someplace special to take my wife. He said, you gotta go to Skogen's. So we went and we ate. And then this took off the following year. And he kept telling me, he says, you know, you got to talk to Joseph, you know, he'll do something with you. Our first year we didn't have the quantity to keep up with a restaurant, because with him the biggest thing is if I plan my menu around what you got to have it.
I wanted to prove that a restaurant in a population of 1,800 people can be just as good as in Los Angeles or New York City. There are some amazing local ingredients here. Every year it seems like the ingredients just get better and better and more and more.
We sit here on a little over a combined 100 acres in the wonderful scenic Black Hills. We do grow 120 different types of produce here. Several different types of tomatoes, all of the brassicas between cabbage, you know, broccoli, cauliflower, your main staple vegetables. We do a lot of fresh herbs that are in the background here. Chef Joseph at Skogen's in Custer, he uses a lot of those, as well as a lot of our tomato supply, occasionally some root vegetables, shallots, stuff like that. If you find it in the grocery store, we normally grow it. I mean, from celery to sweet peas all the way through.
It is probably like the most exciting part, because you're like, oh my gosh, kohlrabi. I forgot about kohlrabi. And now, you know, people are starting to grow kohlrabi. You know, people are starting to grow zucchini blossoms. People are starting to grow these things that were so common to me. And then when you come out here, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't get any of this. And now we're starting to see that kind of take place and take hold.
Custer is this great little town. And I have to say, we've moved here and lived here now full-time 6 years. And in those 6 years, I just feel like it's just been blossoming and is really coming into its own. So not to mention we have all these fun things around us, but it's a town of 2,000 people that has enough great restaurants in it to have a restaurant week in the middle of winter. So if anybody's gonna say so, and I'm a firm believer that I like to play hard, and then I also love to enjoy my food. Like, it needs to be a hand-in-hand experience, and Custer perfectly puts that all together. So we have all of the adventures outside, and then all of the amazing food and restaurants going on in town as well.
I'm sure now with Anthony Bourdain and you know, all these reality TV shows, people are aware that the kitchen life, it is hard. You go in, you get yelled at, and you know, you're expected to make everything perfect, especially in something, I don't want to call my restaurant a fine dining restaurant, but in that fine dining world, things have to be perfect, and tempers flare and things happen, and that was always very hard for me as a cook. And when I first opened the restaurant, I was that for a little bit. And I had to come to a realization that, you know, the people here are much different than the people in California. And not in a bad way at all. In actually a very good way that's affected me personally in a good way. And I realized that these people are just trying to do their best. No one here, at least no one that I've had work for me, is pursuing a culinary arts career. So I had to lean into the fact that this is a revolving door for a lot of people. This is a stepping stone for a lot of people to something else. And maybe somebody will develop a passion here, and that would be fantastic. I had to accept that, and so I've actually become a better chef by realizing that. And I'm not saying I'm still calm by any means. I still slip up here and there, but I think my greatest anxiety today is not saying the right thing and not handling the right thing. And I feel like I've had years of not handling situations the right way, that now it took me living in Custer, South Dakota to really find myself, but also to really look at myself for who I am and how I treat people. And so I'm a lot more careful, and I'm definitely more apologetic, and realizing that, you know, people people just want to be happy. And I think that's what people really are in South Dakota. If I had to express what people are here, I just think they just want to be happy. They want to enjoy what they're doing. And in a way, that's kind of what we all want to do. In a way, that's kind of what I've always wanted to do. I can honestly say I've never been happier in my life. This is probably the best place I feel in the world, which I know might be strange to say, but I do mean it. You have the best people here. Everyone's down to earth, and I just can't believe that I get the opportunity to service this area and meet all these amazing people out here. And I was shocked at how well received it was once we did open up the restaurant. Well, she thought I was moving her to the Great Plains, and so when we were flying in to kind of visit, see the house that I bought, she was looking at the hills and thought, wow, it's beautiful. And I didn't really tell her, it looks like this. I said, I just want to keep it a surprise. And so we touched down in Rapid, and then we drove up here, and she was so upset, not because of where I chose, but that I didn't tell her it was so beautiful out here. And, fortunately, I was right. This is exactly where she wanted to be.